Radio for Skaro.
Hello everyone, welcome to Radio Free Skaro, episode number 771. I am Stephen in Edmonton.
Warren in Vancouver.
And Chris in Edmonton.
It's this is the last episode of November, which means that December is right around the corner. And December is when it all happens, folks.
What happens?
All of it. Everything.
All of it?
Everything.
So like Wedding of River Song or whatever, where everything happens at once at 5:02 p.m.?
5:02
Listen, if the
p.m.
pandemic has taught us anything, it's that we've been living in 5:02 p.m. for quite some time now.
I know. You are not wrong, Warren. I can't believe it's been when did the lockdown? Well, when did everything? March. We'll say March.
March.
Mid-March.
Let's say March
Mid-March.
15th.
Yeah, there's been two things that have happened this year. There's been Doctor Who airing and then going to Gallifrey, and then there's been March, and we're still in March technically, but it's all happening. First off, we'll get this out of the way right now. Fluid Link's Advent Calendar once again. I don't know how many years we've done this, but it's back again.
At least 3.
At least 4, maybe 4 or 5. It's been a while. It's been with this. This is our little tradition we do. A Fluid Link every day. So that's starting on December 1st. So check your podcast feeds for that. Also, we haven't recorded them all yet. So send them in. Hashtag Fluid Links, because there's Doctor Who news coming. Details about the upcoming holiday special, Revolution of the Daleks, which was officially details of which have come out. We're recording this on a Saturday, the 28th of November, the 5th anniversary of Heaven Sent's original broadcast. It's been 5 years since Heaven Sent. So we know that a trailer is coming on November 29th. We don't know what time of day that's going to be, if it's going to be in before our episode comes out or if it's just after. So if you're wondering, hey, let's tune into Radio Free Skaro so we can hear them talk about the trailer.
Next week,
probably. But then we don't really actually dissect trailers that much on this show.
Sometimes,
right?
Sometimes we do, and
we do.
B,
yeah.
This one might be worth dissecting. You never know.
Yeah. Well, if that's the case, we would talk about it right here. But if not, we'll just carry on with the show as proper and stuff. But so that's coming. Also, details I think will probably be coming out from the BBC press release and stuff about the upcoming special and stuff too. So that's coming also this week. So everything's happening this week. This is a preview of stuff that's happening this week. RFS Fluid Link's Advent Calendar and actual details about Revolution of the Daleks. Captain Jack's back, by the way. Captain Jack is back in the holiday special. They had a teaser with him, having I've missed that sound you can hear the sound of the TARDIS and stuff. But and there's a poster and stuff like that, and there's shots of the new Daleks because they've been slightly redesigned for this episode, and they also feature on the cover of the Radio Times as well. So the press monster that is modern Doctor Who is rounding the corner, the slow corner.
It's another case of nothing, everything.
Yeah, that's not wrong. That's not wrong.
My favorite part of that is when fans get really indignant about nothing, and then they get everything, and they all of a sudden get quiet.
Or they just get or they don't get everything and they only get something. It's just a teaser. Oh, what is the point? Where's the whole thing? And some people would think, well, why didn't they put the whole trailer on Doctor Who Day? Well, why would you wait all year and just say, oh, here's everything on one day and then nothing? Doctor Who Day was trending, by the way. That's crazy. I mean, it was trending everywhere. It was trending in Edmonton. I was looking on my local trends, and Doctor Who Day on the 23rd was trending here, for God's sake. And I didn't even tweet about it. So it's not
I
me.
actually watched Unearthly Child, and here's the review from a non-viewer, my girlfriend Jenny. She said, I liked the first episode. The next 3 episodes arguing about dirt really were boring.
Well,
and fire.
And fire. Don't forget dirt.
Mostly dirt.
And old woman being all condescending and stuff.
Yeah, the caveman debate stuff didn't win her over, but the first episode did.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Hartnell trying to like almost bash somebody's head in with a rock.
Yeah.
She said, "Show me some old Tom Bakers, and let's leave it at that."
Wow.
Speaking of old Tom Bakers, I spent Doctor Who Day watching the first 4 discs of the season 14 Blu-ray set.
Wow. Boy, that's a lot. You've just watched a ton of stuff there.
I skipped Hand of Fear. But otherwise I watched everything. And there's a lot of Doctor Who.
Yeah. Have you watched the Elizabeth Sladen documentary yet? I don't know what disc that's on.
I did. That was one of the first 4 discs, yeah.
Yeah. That was
like
really
75
good.
75 minutes or something like that.
It's really good, that documentary. Yeah. It's heartbreaking, actually. You know, when you notice Tom Baker get emotional. Like, that's we've seen Tom Baker like do a lot of things and stuff, but like I'm trying to think, like, he's never like been truly emotional ever, and you could tell he gets that way when he talks about Liz Sladen, and that kind of like hurts. Like, oh my god, like it's made Tom Baker cry.
There's a shot, I think it happens maybe even a couple of times, where he's watching in his interview segment, in that he's watching clips of whatever, Ark in Space or whatever, on a smartphone. And he's kind of just pawing at the screen, like as if he wants to, like, you know, caress her face or something like that.
I know.
And it's very endearing.
Yeah, it's very sweet. It just made me think that perhaps a future thing that they should do is Tom Baker watching Tom Baker in the Tom Baker years, watching past episodes of himself, and then that would be kind of fun too. I think they should do that.
That's more of a YouTube reaction video, though, isn't it?
Oh, God. Why do you have to cheapen everything? Why don't you have a picture of Tom Baker going, huh?
Well, that's just what Beyond Behind the Sofa is, really. Just reaction videos and stuff. But
yeah, but it's better
kind of,
because it's not.
Especially for somebody like Tom Baker, who doesn't remember very much of his time.
No. Well, because it just didn't matter, you know. It's just Tom Baker. He didn't have to remember. We were remembering for him. Doesn't need to. Anyway, Revolution of the Daleks, which Tom Baker's not in, I don't think. No spoilers here, though. But
are we not talking about any of that then, or what?
About what?
Any of that? Jack, the Daleks, any of it?
I am. There's Jack. I mentioned it, Jack and the Daleks.
You mentioned it, but are we talking about it?
You want to talk about Captain Jack being back?
And
I mean, this shot.
I will say I'm very much looking forward to Jodie just brushing him off when he says something inappropriate. Like the 13th Doctor, not Jodie.
Yeah, I know. I know. I'm curious to see that. Of course, Jack was, like, you know, killed by the Daleks all those years ago, so that's kind of exciting. I don't know where Jack will be found. Will he find the fam on Earth, or will he find the Doctor in space prison? Shada. You know, where will the Daleks come in? I mean, it's all very exciting. So I'm looking forward to this.
I suspect he'll still be on that same stolen ship we saw in Fugitive.
No, because he had to jettison. He had to leave. Remember, because he was getting eaten by the nano. Oh, the nano G's. Yeah, they got him, and so he had to.
It's a very Macho Man Randy Savage.
He was kind of that
reading there.
Yeah, a little bit.
That is not the comparison I expected to see.
No.
I'm. So back, I guess it's safer to talk about this now than it would have been back in the day. But back a while ago, there were rumors that Jack was going to be in here because he was, you know, of set reports and when he was there and so on. And I guess it's kind of nice to see some of that stuff come to pass. But more importantly, I'm glad we're getting Jack back because we had such a. It was kind of like a tease in Fugitive, and it's nice to see that carried through so we can actually have some, I'm not going to say closure or anything, but, you know, have some more.
Yeah. You know, I have missed that character, I have to say. You know, I really enjoyed his appearance in Fugitive, and he doesn't even meet the Doctor. I think the tantalizing aspect, because, you know, we've always thought, oh, what would happen if Captain Jack met this Doctor or that Doctor or anything like that, but to meet the first woman Doctor that we know of, that's the exciting thing.
Yeah, but don't forget that the first Doctor that he met was being the 9th Doctor. They danced.
They danced a little bit. Yes, that's right.
Has Big Finish done any other continuity bending nonsense where he meets other doctors?
Well, he wore Colin Baker's coat, so
that's true. Which damn, he looks good in that. You don't say that much about Colin Baker's coat.
Yeah, that'd be amazing if you wore the Colin Baker's coat in this episode.
Oh, that wouldn't make any damn sense. But oh well.
No, not at all.
I don't see that happening, but why not? It's a festive special. Have some fun with it, right?
Why not? Maybe he appears in the Colin Baker coat. It's like, oh wow, let me tell you how I got this, and then leaves.
Maybe every scene he appears in, he can just wear a different doctor's outfit.
that would be kind of Osgoody in a way when you think about it.
That sounds like something that John Barrowman would propose to them.
That's true.
No.
Yeah. What if I go away and I come right back using my vortex manipulator, and then I'm wearing I've got the doctor's umbrella. Would that be funny? Yeah. Okay. All right, John. That's fine. Yeah, we'll shoot it.
I don't think he'd even explain the vortex manipulator bit. He'd just be like, "What if I'm just wearing these things?"
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm at this. We're in that point again where 2020 has been 2020, but vaccines are on the horizon, and it's giving in company with the worst possible second wave of the pandemic itself. So it's basically we're running in a headlong, are we going to get, who's all going to get COVID, and will we get the vaccine in time? That's the race that we're in right now. But apart from that, slight optimism / fear, I'm actually beginning to look forward to Doctor Who again in about a month's time. So this is exciting. I miss this feeling. I miss looking forward to things.
Do you guys share in the at least partial backlash against the Dalek redesign?
No, I don't care.
What are your thoughts on this?
Here's my take on it. It's A, better than the new paradigm Daleks, because that's not difficult. And B, so they changed the Daleks around a bit. Fine. Whatever. Maybe they'll change it back.
And because it's an actual proper real Dalek, it's not it looks more refined than the one in Resolution, which was
well, who's to say there aren't going to be those and other Daleks?
Well, now we're veering into plot spoilers possibly. I don't know anything, but reading the Radio Times article, Chris Chibnall sort of says we're not outright replacing the current the Daleks. It's sort of this is kind of when you look at the title, it's a revolution of the Daleks.
Yeah, which they've done twice before with the new paradigm Daleks and with whatchamacallit,
the White Daleks,
Remembrance. Yeah,
exactly. So
then, they're not that I'd quite put it into the same category, but in episode 2 of Daleks, there's a big Dalek faction battle as well.
Mm-hmm. So it's happened before, basically.
And it will happen again. They are Cylons, is what you're saying. So where's sexy Trisha Helfer Dalek?
Well, I prefer giant shiny chrome Centurions. Thank you very much. But
that's fair.
Yeah, thank you very much, because they clunk around and are utterly useless.
Excuse me, if you're going to talk about great Cylon robots, Lucifer, the gayest robot ever to have lived, yes, even gayer the C-3PO, is a... Why, of course, I know why they didn't bring him back, because he's Studio 54 in robot form. but I still love Lucifer so much.
Is he in the original one? I don't remember. Yeah. I don't think I ever got around to seeing him, so...
Yeah, he is.
Oh, okay.
He's got this glorious Omega gown, and he has regular eyes like a human, but they go back and forth and 2 eyes, unlike the one eye.
Oh,
yeah. And he looks like a Christmas bulb, and he's just so bitchy. It's so good. I didn't appreciate it at the time, but now as an adult, I'm like, oh, this robot is the best.
Sadly,
where's
probably
his
also,
Kickstarter comic?
Also not appearing in Revolution, the Daleks.
No,
but
or is he? He isn't.
Yeah. What do you think about the Dalek design there, Chris? Are you okay with them? Or?
I mean, I don't dislike it. I'm happy to wait to see more of it. I'm my desire for order in a chaotic universe doesn't like the bumps being 4 3 3 4 3 there's
really
but
I kind of like that.
I prefer when it's all the same number all the way around.
Well, you'll have to see
an idiotic nitpick.
I know you'll have to see where and why such a thing happens. Basically, when we see the episode,
I doubt they're going to explain the location and number of bumps, etheric beam locators, if you will.
It's actually, yes, that's right. The 4-3, the 4 bumps in the middle and then the 3 on the sides are represented 4-3, the aspect ratio of classic Doctor Who.
That's exactly what it is. That's
exactly
how much thought's been put into it.
That's how much thought. It's oddly, actually, in the ring, like the ring section just below the helmet, there's like a little bar with like little clamps on it. It very much reminds me of a Lego piece, like a specific Lego piece, and which is slightly larger than minifig scale. So it wouldn't fit if I was to make this Dalek to match all the minifigs. But it made me think about that. So maybe they made it with Lego in mind. They didn't, but that's fine.
I'm sure they didn't.
Nope, they didn't. So anyway, the Radio Times cover the Daleks on it, and everything will come out. There'll be stuff happening this week, folks. There'll be stuff coming out in the news that will be worthy of discussion next week on this podcast. And maybe we'll talk about the trailer then. Maybe we already talked about it in an insert. You'll have to find out, and so will we, basically. Anything else about the Revolution of the Daleks you want to talk about before we move on, champs?
I'm good. I'm because I kept myself a little bit in the dark. The next item, this weird Doctor Who Day announced discovery of the Hartnell titles.
Discovery. Well. Toby Haydock was on the show last week. His podcast launched. I'm a Patreon subscriber, so I got a whole bunch of stuff like throughout the course of the week. But it's all going to come out anyway. You just sort of get it earlier, which is good because I had a little, some lighter work days. So like as soon as they were coming out, I was listening to these commentaries and stuff. And the too much information is astounding. I can see why it takes forever for him to do this. It is like a remarkable audio document about basically the history of Doctor Who up until the shooting of their very first pilot episode in September of 1963. And so one of the things that has sort of been like kind of assumed, I don't know if it was like passed on through, fan lore or something like that, but the opening few seconds of the title sequence is taken from a different source. That has always been known before it fades into stuff actually shot for the visual feedback for the actual title sequence itself by the Doctor Who production team. It has often been thought that first few seconds of sort of that little the things shooting up from the bottom of the screen was taken from something called Amal and the Night Visitors from 1959. But Toby has found screen grabs and video of a 1960 production called Tobias and the Angel, which very definitely is the source of those that initial thing. However, he does sort of say that he has not actually seen any production stills or video of Amal and the Night Visitors. I don't know if it exists even. So it's very possible that it also featured in there, but the source of it is definitely from Tobias and the Angel. So yeah, it's interesting to see, fan lore sort of like be disproven over the, stuff that's been around for like over 50 years and think, actually, it's actually this. And he also, in that same thing, pronounced Peter, the designer of the TARDIS set, as Peter Brahatsky is how he pronounced it. That could have been
as opposed to Bracaki.
Yeah, but we always sort of Bracaki because it's Brachacki or something. It's Brahatsky because he's
not me. I would never mispronounce something.
No, never, Warren. I don't know if Toby found that properly or if Graham Kibble White, who did a big thing for a Doctor Who magazine thing on him, is the one that found out how to pronounce it, and that's just the first time I heard it in audio, so to speak. But so yeah, interesting stuff. Good podcast.
Because well done, if Toby. You think back to like An Adventure in Space and Time, he's seen but not named.
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't hear the name there.
No, he's in An Adventure in Space and Time for about as long he is actually in Doctor Who, oddly enough, because he only designed the pilot episode, but his design lives on to this day. So yeah, it's very interesting. Also, hey, this is what an exciting week for Doctor Who. We finally have a new classic series Blu-ray have been announced. Season 8. Mm-hmm. John Pertwee's second season, as it'll probably be called here in this part of the season. The Master Season will be the next one out. It's no release date was given, but the trailer was out there, all the details and stuff. and obviously it's fascinating because it's Doctor Who and it's on Blu-ray. There's lots of things that I'm excited about, but what are your initial impressions of season 8 being the next one?
Sacha Dhawan doing Behind the Sofa.
Right.
I thought that was, as the current incumbent master, that's a fantastic thing to have.
Yeah,
and Corona friendly.
He's doing it with Anjali Mahindra as well, who's
they've
been going out for however long.
Yeah, so they could appear on screen together without worrying about contracting COVID. The fascinating thing is that others, like Janet Fielding, Sarah Sutton, and Katie Manning and Stuart Bevan are the other ones, and they have plexiglass in between them, like the presidential debates. They have plexiglass.
Yeah, it's like going to a restaurant.
Yeah, which I found quite fascinating. Which I find equally fascinating because the trailer clearly, Katie Manning and Stuart Bevan are not separated.
I would assume that was filmed long before this.
Well, no, they were filmed. They were separated by distance.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I barely saw it, but it was neat that it exists.
Yeah. So that made me think. I mean, just as an aside, I mean, how many? Would they do they actually use like plexiglass in between actors? Perhaps like when they are shooting stuff nowadays. Like maybe you can sort of get away with that. Yeah. Or maybe not. Maybe just have really clean plexiglass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the VAM on, even going back to the DVDs, was always awesome, and even more so on the Blu-ray sets. So both the what's called the direct route, which is directors Michael Bryant, Graham Harper, and Tim Coombe, going back to filming locations. I'm looking forward to that. And then Frank Skinner doing a piece on Terrence Dicks was also very tantalizing.
I know. Yeah, that's going to be amazing. Also, I saw Pitt Madeley on Twitter, creator of, such stuff.
Oh, the Colony in Space.
The Colony in Space comparison stuff, because, a lot of the season, like Terror of the Autons and the Demons, apart from episode 4, are taken, have been recolorized using, VHS off-air copies melded with, 16 millimeter stuff. The Colony in Space, I think, is a 525 line master for some of the episodes. I think that have sort of been upresed in past, reverse standards correction. I think they've actually colorized the 16 millimeter black and white film version because he did some comparison video of what you could see in the trailer from it, and it is definitely an improvement from what was originally released on DVD in 2011. So the picture will be a lot different too. Also, the extended episode 1 of The Claws of Axos, because it's the earliest studio recording video tape session of I think episode 1. I think there's a whole bunch of behind the scenes stuff like raw studio footage on the DVD, and so they've actually made an extended episode 1 of The Claws of Axos based on that. So I'm pretty excited about that. Yeah, when you say Warren there, I cut you off there.
Oh, I was just agreeing with you. And just saying that, if they hadn't upped stuff from 2011, there would be a bit of a backlash, I'm sure.
A little bit, yeah. That's the exciting thing for me. Season 9 is a lot of Sea Devils and I think the Mutants and maybe even the Time Monster as well. I think there's a lot of stuff that returned from Canada that aired here in 1972 that's in color, and then a lot of stuff is 525 line copies from TV Ontario. So I'm excited.
Done for you, Doctor Who. Set something here. Just set something here, for God's sakes. Do it in Toronto. I don't even care anymore.
Right? I mean, I'm excited to see what they do with how reverse standards correction has improved in the years since they did it, because it's exciting. So as I said, no release date. So there's no you could pre-order it in the UK, but I don't think it's shown up yet here in North America.
Not that I've seen yet. No. I'm also curious to know if Mind of Evil is going to be any better off than it was for the original release.
Better. What, are you complaining about?
Well, it's colorization and whatnot.
Oh yeah. Well, they did recolor episode 6, right? Because that's the only one that that whoever made the film copy decided to say, no, I am doing my duty and turning off the little thing that makes it a color signal. And so there were no chroma dots on episode 6, so they actually had to recolorize it.
I just remember back in the day, because Mind of Evil DVD came out in 2011, 12, something like that. Mm-hmm. But I remember even a couple, 3 years before that, there were prior test prints, as it were, of the DVD where colorization was not as good as it was on the DVD release. So I know it's something they had worked on quite extensively a decade or so ago. And I'm curious to know because I haven't seen anything one way or the other, if they've done that much more work, because I'm sure technology has improved, quite significantly in even the last 10 years.
Yeah, I think it has. Exciting to see how that'll improve. I did just search Amazon, and no, it's not there. But I will say this: if you're listening to this and it's timely enough, there's a big, certainly in Canada, there's a bunch of deals on some of the Blu-ray collections, the classic series stuff. So if you're looking to get your season 26 or your season 12 Blu-ray set or your season 19 one, well, this is the time to do it, folks.
I hadn't actually seen that, so. February 23rd is the UK release.
Is it really?
I hadn't actually seen that until just now.
Oh, well, 23rd. Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm sure we'll get it sometime.
Still 3 months away.
Yeah, well, in the UK it is. I'm sure we'll get it in August.
2023.
2023 if we're lucky. Yeah. Which will we get first? Will we get the Season 8 Blu-ray or will we get Series 13 of Doctor Who? Which will we get first?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Season 8.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Series 13.
Not so sure. I tell you what we probably also won't get is the Web of Fear on Blu-ray. Web of Fear Special Edition coming out on Blu-ray with a newly animated Episode 3, which is of course still missing even though it was found. So whenever this happens, it makes me think... It just makes you think, well, I guess we've given up on that. Or is this maybe Phil Morris is hoarding it? So they're like, well, guess what? We don't need it. We're going to animate it. They released a teaser for it also because they had the off-air audio of the trailer that went out at the end of Enemy of the World the previous week, where Patrick Troughton's in character sits down in the set of the London Underground and talks to camera about how scary it is. And they've animated that bit of audio. And I have to say, the animation is much more fluid and really interesting compared to having to edit 6 episodes of missing Doctor Who.
He's waving his arms around in the air like you just don't care.
You were distracted by that, were you?
I was a little distracted. Yes. Also, I'd like to point out that what you described of this whole thing of somebody's got Web of Fear, et cetera, it's like an arms race of pettiness. It's like, who will win? Everyone loses.
I know. Well, I mean, for those that don't know, Phil Morris in 2011 or whenever he found Enemy and Web, found all 6 episodes of each, 2 of which are redundant because they already existed. But in between him taking a picture of the stack of film cans and then going back to collect them, Web of Fear Part 3 just happened to go missing. And he believes that the station manager of the place in Joss is the one that walked off with it, perhaps just to sort of say, oh, I've got collateral now, so it's important, is it? Well, I've got this, and so...
No, can you blame him? Honestly, if you're some station manager in Joss, why wouldn't you do that?
Well, that's, I suppose, but anyway, he's been trying to track it down ever since, and has obviously failed because we're getting an animated version, but I am intrigued to see what the animated version is. But I also say... we don't get the special editions here. We haven't got Enemy of the World here. Power we never got. Yeah, so I'm not holding out hope.
Still waiting on Faceless Ones in general.
Yeah, is that even on? I have received 2 emails from Amazon saying, "Hey, Faceless Ones is now available for pre-order." I clicked the link. Currently unavailable.
Hey, no, it ain't.
Currently unavailable. A swine. So. I guess I'm just waiting for the collection series on Blu-ray for these things to come out. Basically, is what I'm waiting for. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Also, things and other stuff that we won't get. This whole thing is basically this is
something I would definitely consider buying. But
yeah, this is what life is like when you do the Doctor Who podcast in this Doctor Who podcast in Canada, because it's just telling you stuff that we won't get ourselves. It's the 50th anniversary special and the various episodes surrounding it are coming out in the UK as a Blu-ray steelbook. Ooh, pretty, with Name of the Doctor, Night of the Doctor, Day of the Doctor, Time of the Doctor, and an adventure in space and time of the Doctor. So that's all those 5 things are coming out with limited edition steelbook that we don't get. It's very pretty, though. Very pretty. I'm always surprised that you haven't splurged and got the steelbooks, Chris, just because you like UK stuff, and some of your original DVD collection is like PAL stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And, but you haven't gone for these.
It's a byproduct of living there and buying stuff when it came out.
Yeah, I know.
Mostly these days it's just expense. It's like to look at, I don't know, like Power of the Daleks or something, just the standard Blu-rays, 11, 12, 13 pounds or something like that. And it's like 20 pounds for shipping. And that's just not worth it to me.
No, I will say that I don't usually, you know, like people say, oh, you should get the UK version of these classic series Blu-rays and stuff like that. But he says, no, I'm not doing that because I'm sort of voting with my dollars in a way. And that's it. Yes, there is a market in North America for these releases. So please release it in North America.
Even if we get the dregs.
I want it all. I will pay for it all in the country that is I am intended to watch it in. So please make it. So that's what I do. So that's why I don't, unless a special case, like I have like the Shada Blu-ray because it did come out on Blu-ray here in North America and it's great. I think that's the only time I've actually splurged and got a UK copy, but it'll come out in the season 17 box set anyway, probably. So I've just paid for it twice, as I have.
Like for Shada, I bought it on iTunes for $6 or something, and it has all the bonus stuff that the Blu-ray has. So.
It does, yeah. Actually, I have it both. I have it twice. I have Shada on iTunes as well.
Not to mention having bought the DVD version and
VHS version of the
I
original
never bought
one.
the VHS one, but
you never did. I have paid more times for Shada than the BBC paid for Shada.
Oh God,
finished
so have I. Sadly,
yeah, it's something for something that's not actually complete. They've released it a lot of times.
times.
Because if you also consider like the Paul McGann, Lalla Ward version, and then of course Ian Levine's effort in animating it.
Effort is one way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not bad actually. As things go,
it's not as bad as some of his other test animations.
Yeah, I mean, good luck finding it. That's the thing. That's the thing with some of the Ian Levine stuff. You have to know someone who knows someone to actually find a copy of it. But
and then you regret knowing those people.
A little bit. Keeping in this theme, the entire theme of this news list has been stuff we can't get in. Actually, maybe you can get it. It is available on Amazon.com. The Doctor Who The Edge of Time soundtrack vinyl LP, the soundtrack for the immersive VR game. It's funny, I was just thinking about this the other day because the composer, Richard Wilkinson, did a very Peter Howell-esque version of the theme tune for it, but he slightly changed the bridge, the middle eight, and I was fascinated by it. And I tracked him down on Twitter and tweeted at him and says, I just love this thing. You've done something slightly different with it. And he actually tweeted back to me, oh yeah, I've always had an idea to do it this way. Here are the chords that you could do it. And so like I scrolled through Twitter looking for that tweet the other day and found it and bookmarked it so I can find out how to play it myself, because it's a really ingenious little twist on the middle eight of the classic Doctor Who theme tune. So it's a good soundtrack, and I'm glad that, obviously we haven't played the VR game because, I don't have a VR goggle set or anything like that, but you do have the audio, and you can have it now on vinyl soon or now. It's good stuff. All right, where are we at in the news list here? By the way, we have a commentary. We haven't even mentioned that yet. Sophie Iles, our good friend Sophie Iles, joins us for Ascension of the Cybermen on our
that little thing.
Series 12 commentaries that we recorded like back in August or sometime like that. I don't remember what it was, but and like she has since gone on to like draw stuff and did that thing for charity 2 or 3 weeks back, and like Chris Chibnall matched the donations. Remember that? Mm-hmm. That all happened well after the fact that we recorded this commentary, but it's a fun commentary, so stay tuned for that. Times Champion is a book. It was started by Craig Hinton in 2006 before he died suddenly, sadly, and then it was finished by Chris McKeon and published by Talos Publishing in 2008. It is now being reprinted now by Talos Publishing in December of 2020, which is coming up in a couple of days here. So there you go. You could pre-order the new publishing of Times Champion, with the Doctor and the Valley Art and Mel and the glorious neon logo Links in the show notes there. So there. Boy, I feel like I'm just rattling off news right now, and you're just sort of,
Well, for Times Champion, a little thing I can throw in there.
Do it.
I got nothing.
I mean, the image shows like target number and all that kind of stuff, which I didn't know. But I know David J. who owns Telus Publishing, has said that the cover is going to be different for the reprint to kind of protect the value of the original release, because apparently it's something that has traded hands for significant sums of money.
Wow.
And they don't want to like dilute that market. So
I got you.
That's good.
Wait, you see the cover. Wait, you see the cover. Very provocative indeed. Yeah, that's what it'll be. A little Spinal Tap for you. Also, hey, this is exciting. So, the Lytton comic, the Kickstarter of which we talked about, and they met all their stretch goals and everything, and the folks behind it, led by Gareth Kavanagh, came out with a new one for Omega, another Bob Baker written thing with Omega being the comic. And one of the stretch goals, the last stretch goal, which they have thankfully reached, is to do an audio VAM with Omega, played by Brian Blessed. How perfect is that casting?
That is
When you think of the three Doctors and Stephen Thorne's booming voice,
he does a great job, does Stephen Thorne?
Which he does. He does an amazing job. But I mean, Brian Blessed, that's its own special thing.
I'm sure some people are like, not my Omega.
This world. It would just, my heavens, yeah.
I guarantee people are mad about this.
Why would they be mad? It's Brian
Well, of course,
Blessed.
yes, that's an obvious question. Why would they be mad? It's great. But people were mad at, what's his name, for being the Doctor in Twice Upon a Time. Why? Because
David
people.
Bradley?
Yes.
Oh.
So is it perfect casting? Yes. Will people get mad? Of course they will.
I don't know. Were they mad at Ian Collier being Omega in Arc of Infinity?
Probably.
No.
It's Doctor Who fans we're talking about here.
Are you mad, Warren?
No, of course not. I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Just wanted to
Were
check.
people mad at Richard Herndl back in the day? I don't know.
Almost. They probably still are.
Yeah. Should have been a puppet, they probably thought. Get Jim Henson in. Do a puppet. Very hot from Dark Crystal.
I never said
stuff.
it made any sense.
No. Speaking of not making sense, that's rude. This is actually kind of neat and exciting. So a bunch of Doctor Who fans all around the world have recreated all 166 modern episodes of Doctor Who at home. Not like front to back, but basically just sort of like recreated certain scenes to all add up to about a 28-minute video of literally every single episode that has aired in the 21st century of Doctor Who. That is astounding and fun and zany and bonkers. And
here's my
when you say
view.
Warren, Doctor Who fans are going to complain. This is the other side of Doctor Who fandom that I adore.
Well, here's where I complain, because theater kid's gonna theater kid.
Okay. Anything else you want to dump on here, Warren?
Nope. That's it. That's my one sentence dump.
It's a fun little thing. It's a fun tribute to Doctor Who from, fans being locked in their homes, basically. So what else are they going to do but recreate Doctor Who things? So links in the show notes if you want to have a look at it yourself. Apart from you, Warren, you can just delete it and move on and grumble about things. Yeah.
Muting that YouTube channel.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, one last thing. Because of COVID, because we can't let you forget about COVID, the Doctor Who Time Fracture, the immersive experience that was supposed to open up in the UK in February has now been pushed to April 21st, which is
good luck.
Not at all. Well, yeah, that might be dicey too, but it's certainly not going to happen in February. So that has also been pushed back. So there we go. Summing up. Doctor Who is coming back. Look out for stuff coming this week. Fluid Links. Send in your Fluid Links. We'll still have a batch to record for our Fluid Links Advent calendar. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we'll never get in Canada, but we're telling you about. And lastly, it's our commentary for Ascension of the Cybermen with our friend Sophie Iles right after this. Yes, folks, it's the penultimate commentary, the beginning of the end here of our Series 12 commentaries with Ascension of the Cybermen. And we've brought along our only British-based guest through this whole commentary series because we are turning our back on Britain. We're not at all. It's easier for recording. And we wanted our guest, I've had you on the radar for quite a while, I have to say. And then I met you for like 3 minutes at Gallifrey 1, Sophie Iles, artist and writer. So I'm very happy that you are able to join us for this commentary today. Hello.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to be here. All very exciting.
Oh, is it exciting? Is it really exciting? Is it?
Yeah, I like doing podcasts. I like talking to people about Doctor Who. It's not something I get to do it often on the internet, yes, but voice to voice or face to face, it's always far more enjoyable because you get more kind of nuanced conversation than just text, which never goes down well. It's too polarizing. So it's really nice to just chat with fans, I find.
You're right about like it becoming polarized. Like, I don't know, sarcasm sort of loses. There's a layer there. There's a layer when in the written word, which is why books must be banned because they lead to just, misunderstandings everywhere. It's
wow, that took a hell of a turn.
I was don't bad books. I like those.
Respond to that. Why don't you? Well, you don't write, but you've written audio play. What do you write? You've written a few things. I know that as we record this in early October. Hello, late November, people of the future. Hope everything's okay for you. But your first big finish just came out, which is a Time Lord Victorious related thing with Roger Delgado's Master. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes, it was released last Tuesday. So recording this on the 11th, it came out on the 7th of October. So it's still very fresh and terrifying that it's out in the world. And I've written a few other bits and pieces. Some things are in the wings to be published, some short stories. Other things I'm currently working on, which I have no idea when they'll be released. And before that, I wrote a subscriber short trip for Big Finish, which was called A Song for Running. And I also have a short story out called A Single Wolf, Grey and Gaunt, which is an anthology of stories set in the 1950s, which is really fun. Actually, I got to make I got to make a William Russell reference. So it was a very, very fun to write because it's all about a little boy who befriends a ghost dog. And that's as much as I'm going to tell you. So that's still out in the open. That's been out. I think it's been out for about a year now. I did win an award for it. I came second in a literary competition for I think it's the Critters Award, so for short stories that are like independent. So that was really fun, and exciting as well. And then I got to write this, which was very, very fun to write Delgado's Master. I think it's the second time he's appeared in Big Finish audio, like officially speaking. I think he appeared in the Simon Gurrier story called The Switching, and then my story where it's all Delgado, which is really terrifying.
Because he's a bit of an iconic master.
Definitely.
Yeah. Tough to not, it's easy to screw up an iconic master. So well done. Well done at getting that. Like, here you go. Welcome to Big Finish. You're in an ongoing storyline called Time Lord Victorious. Oh, by the way, you're writing for the most iconic master of all time, quite probably.
Actually terrifying, honestly.
Yeah, I can believe it. I can believe it.
And it all started just because I was asked how much I like the Master, and I was like, is that a trick question? Like, just generally the Master. And I was like, are you teasing? No, it's a job offer. I was like, yeah, like
fine, I suppose.
Then
I guess.
Like, scribble on everything. I hate Roger Delgado. I think he's the absolute. No, I actually love Roger Delgado. He's very good in looks at notes. Doctor Who. He's superb.
Yes, definitely. Well, it wasn't quite like that, but no, it was great. It was honestly such an experience because usually especially with the short trip stuff, you pitch an idea for a short trip and then it's approved and then you write it and then it happens. With this short trip, outlines had kind of been decided. They kind of knew what they wanted, but they hadn't chosen another writer. And Simon was already on the project and they said, would you like to work with me? And because we'd already worked together, it felt like a good fit. So he was like, no, I'd love to work with Sophie again, please. Which was really scary that he actually said that. I was kind of recommended by Simon. and Alfie had already worked with me, who was my producer on it. So they were like, well, we know we like Sophie, we like working with her, so let's give her the opportunity, which I still can't thank them enough for, because it's such a big deal going from a subscriber short trip to a short trip that everyone's adamant they have to listen to make sense of Tom or Victorious. And it's like, so it's gone from like 1% of fandom to almost like 99% of fandom. Like,
so you're the linchpin.
It's scary. It's so scary.
But it's already out now. See, we don't, like, the pressure's gone. It's off you now. Like, it's no longer yours. It's now, art has now been released to the world as everybody else's to take in. So there's no pressure on you anymore. So don't worry about it. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always worried about it, but it's it's a very different kind of pressure now, because now I have to live up to what's happened, because people seem to really enjoy it, and I'm so grateful that they do. But now, what comes next? What's the next thing? What are people going to be like? Well, Master Thief was really good. What's next? And I'm sat here like, ah. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes down, because you're always going to have that kind of creative pressure when something is that well received when it first comes out. So fingers crossed I don't screw up the next thing that badly, and it'll all be okay.
I'm sure you will do great. If people are clamoring to work with you, I'm sure it'll be fine. Who knows where it'll be? I mean, we're recording this in early October. I mean, by the time this goes out in late November, you might be the new showrunner of Doctor Who. Who knows? Like,
gosh,
all these possibilities are. Hey, can't rule it out. Can't rule it out. Okay, can't prove it negative.
Okay.
Well, we're here to watch Ascension of the Cybermen, a story from a season that I have to keep reminding everyone who is on this podcast that from a season that actually did air in this calendar year. It seems very
reminding
difficult
yourself
to believe,
too,
but yeah. This aired in late February, the weekend after Gallifrey 1, where we first met you, Sophie. And everything seemed so sweet and innocent at that time. It no longer is. Yeah.
I still can't get over that it was that this year. I feel like it was like 2 years ago.
Nope.
I keep sitting there going, yeah, Gally was a while ago, right? It's like, no, it's February. And I'm,
what's a February?
What is a February? Because they don't exist. They can't exist. It makes no sense. It's odd. It's very odd.
Yeah, but we're going to revisit this episode here of Doctor Who that went out, the penultimate episode, the first of the 2-part finale, and we're about ready. So everyone, get your legally purchased Blu-rays and DVDs out of Series 12. We got it all ready. Everyone's all queued up. Good news. Here we go then. Okay. Doctor Who Series 12, Episode 9, Ascension of the Cybermen, in 3, 2, 1. Play. Now, I am the only person here out of the 4 of us who actually watched this just before recording. Am I right?
Yeah, I did not.
No.
Yeah.
I did not.
No.
I haven't watched it since it aired.
Same.
And also, the first thing I thought of when I saw this, just as I loaded this up, was, how's this continuity fit in? And I said, why are you doing this to yourself? Just don't even bother trying to figure it out.
Yeah. It does. I mean, it's only a 30-second teaser, which is cool. But this thing that's coming up here, I can say this because I've seen it relatively recently, a couple days ago. Is this right here? What is happening?
What is happening?
I love that.
That is pretty great.
I love it when it comes out of there.
I have to say, I don't know how many people have said this about this theme, but I love the theme, and I love this intro. It's so otherworldly and a bit alien, and I love it. I really do, and I love the way they've done the theme, the drums. Like, I remember when I watched that for the first time when it aired, I was like, my stomach just sunk. It was just the most beautiful feeling. I really loved it.
And this episode, not that we're going to hear it, in the closing credits, has the middle 8 added back, right?
You betcha.
Yeah. I'm still kind of baffled by all this Irish what have you.
I love this. I love that, because often in Doctor Who, they'll say Ireland, whatever year it is, or there'll be like some sort of graphic to indicate what year it is and where you are, and we have nothing. And that's a clue right there. The fact that this is basically just in the Doctor's mind.
Well, all we know is that Gallifrey is in Ireland.
That's the thing. Everyone is sort of trying to make that connection.
I remember I adored this scene because I just could not foresee what this was. I don't think anyone could understand what this was. And I think that was part of the pull. This whole like chapter in this episode where you keep coming back to this was so interesting. I just wanted to keep going back to this. Like, I was like, couldn't you just do a whole episode which is a flashback? And you just like, I felt like I wanted to know desperately.
Well, you're writing for Big Finish now, so stay tuned.
This is it right here.
Pretty sure the Irish Chronicles are coming soon. And by soon, I mean 2025.
It would be utterly fascinating and very daring to have this entire storyline go on uninterrupted. And then,
imagine?
that would be crazy.
I kind of love it, though. I think it'd be so interesting. I mean, I think obviously the problem with that, and it's something that Moffat, I think, described a lot when he was doing it, is there's nothing there then to pull in new fans. They don't understand what's going on. Like, you kind of need, unfortunately, you need both. You need the double barrel of the familiar, which is what we know as Doctor Who in terms of the trailers and the mainstream, and then this, which is obviously for fans of the series kind of going, what is this? It's even more alienating to people who are just turning over and watching it on their TV. Like, what's this? So I think it would be difficult to do unless you were very, very clever. Very clever indeed.
Yeah. I almost wonder if they're like the pre-title sequence. There aren't many pre-title sequences in this whole series. I'm wondering if that only came about as like, the title goes from Ascension to the Cybermen to this for several minutes to start the episode. Like, people will go, wait a second, they've put an episode of Call the Midwife in here somehow. What just happened?
It does make me think of Call the Midwife.
Yeah.
Very much so.
So I'm wondering if that opening, which is all, CG, is was written in at the last moment or relatively late in the proceedings.
I like that transition.
There
call
she is.
Call the doctor,
there
then
they are.
cut to Jodie.
Yeah.
I did like how they've just completely cut from, in terms of when we last saw the fam, as it were, that they are now in battle mode. And I like that. I like that there's stuff there that they've discussed that isn't explained.
Yeah, the prep has already happened. Yeah. And so when we get to hear about it, it's them explaining it to the other people that they meet shortly. It's a good way of getting around it, so that, because otherwise they would have had to done it twice. They would have basically, so what's this, doctor? Well, this is this. And then they go and set it up and all the people will go, what are you doing? Let me explain it to you again for the first time. It's Jodie Whittaker's doctor. What do you think of Jodie Whittaker's doctor there, Sophie?
You know what? I really like her. I just feel, for me, some of the writings let her down. And I feel that, and I don't think it's necessarily, I think it's a mix of lots of different things. So when it comes to series 11 and 12, for me, I haven't really connected with her as a doctor. But when I think about her as a doctor, I get very excited, almost as though I'm kind of filling in this gap that I haven't quite got yet. And I don't know whether that's just me watching it or if it's, because I know people who adore her doctor desperately. I'm just not sure if I found anything yet that I've quite connected on. But in saying that, I loved her in The Haunting. And I did like her in this one, from what I remember. So we'll find out. But no, I think, because I love drawing her as well. I like capturing her. So I love what they're trying to do, but I don't think it's come across in the way that I would like, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. I don't know, maybe it's also the writer in me is like, well, if I was doing this, I would do that. Or if you're focusing on this kind of character element with Jodie, I would, make it really extreme. And if she's going to be like really hopeful, I would push it to the point where she wouldn't even be angry ever until she really has to be, And I guess I would really, really push all those characteristics we're supposed to give her, where I feel sometimes it doesn't quite read. Mm-hmm. I struggle sometimes to read how she's feeling in a scene, even though she's saying the words, I'm angry. I don't almost believe it. And I don't know if that's just because of how the writing has set her up or direction. So I don't know where it is for me. But I find it fascinating that that's even happened. I've never had that with the Doctor before.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So
it kind of like, I adore Peter Davison's Doctor, but, I think I'm kind of in a similar mind about him. Like, I feel like he is, whenever I see him with anyone other than his regular co-stars, it's like, wow, he's amazing. Like when he's walking around with Todd in Kinda or Polly, what's her name, in The Awakening. Like oftentimes I feel he bounces off his perhaps more experienced co-stars a little better than he does his regular co-stars.
His companions aren't there by his choice. None of them.
None of them are.
Tegan doesn't want to be there. Adric wants, shouldn't be there because he's stowed away. And Nyssa was, thrown at him by the Watcher. So
I definitely see where you're coming from.
Depressing perspective.
Yeah.
And then Turlo tried to kill him. So, what do you want? Perry's the only one that kind of wants to be there.
Oh, and then they argue all the time. But
she's only in 2 stories with him.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Nicola Bryant, on the day that we're recording
this.
Yeah.
Indeed, yes.
I do kind of like how, annoyed she is at this point. She's trying to help, but she's also like, oh, so basically useless. So we're useless here. She's exasperated by the situation. I think she would have been a little more like, I'm just trying to help and please everyone the previous season. But they wouldn't have really been in such a dire situation, I suppose, last year, because I don't think the stakes were as raised as they have been for this year.
Fan.
I love how, this is what you have to do to save us. And then, from what I remember, this just doesn't work. Nothing works. And I kind of like that vulnerability that we're getting, that the Doctor's plan does not work.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's great. I think that's a really great way to go about this. Also, I found this moment, I remember, really, really weird. If it is the moment I think it is, because I haven't watched it since it aired.
Right.
It weirded me out.
Yes.
Yeah, it weirded me out so much. It's so strange.
Pretty ridiculous, but they're also kind of great.
Yeah.
Which is what Doctor Who is. Pretty ridiculous and also kind of great.
Yeah.
I like the idea, but I think the cyberheads are just a bit too much.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like you could have designed something much simpler that would have done the job just as well.
Yep.
Without making me laugh.
Well, that's basically what Cybermats are, right? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the Cybermats are really... I kind of wish they'd just been Cybermats.
Or Cyberbats.
Even flying...
Love it.
Yeah, flying Cybermats would... Yeah, it's just the head thing.
Yeah.
It makes me think Handel's gone bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are the...
weird thing to suddenly you go attached to one cyberhead and then the other cyberhead's trying to kill you, everyone. It's like, what?
And the weird thing is, I don't have that feeling, and I'm the world's biggest Handles fan, so I can't explain this.
What I love is that this we're watching this with subtitles on and no audio, but there is no music score going on. It's just the the sounds of all the battle and everything, and that's what really drives it home as a pretty gritty thing. If it was bouncy, jaunty sort of orchestral music going on, perhaps the cyberheads would have seemed even sillier, maybe. But the fact that they are we're basically watching a Bosnian war film at this point, and there's a bunch of flying cyberheads around it. It kind of helps offset the potential silliness.
So my question: are those guys the new guys? Is that the newest ranked Cybermen? Okay, well, you're on Droided Tail. The rest of us get bodies. Yeah.
Are there a bunch of headless Cybermen standing there waiting for their heads to pop back, or are they specially made drones? That's another question.
Or is this the true Ascension of the Cybermen, when you get to go pure ahead?
I think we need to get Robert Sherman to give us some explanations as the person who created the idea of Cyberhead back in Series 1.
That's true.
Which he's been trying to deny ever since.
Well, Sophie, when you write the Big Finish connection to this in years to come, when they get the rights to Jodie Whittaker series, just remember this conversation that we're having now, and just sort of okay, let's tie something in.
I mean, this is being recorded, right? I'll always have a reference. It's all fine.
It's fine. Yeah, there's so much.
I can even say, look, I referenced it straight from this conversation I had from a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. October 11th, 2020. There it is. Copyright. Not actually copyright, but...
I like this scene.
Yeah. I've been reckless. I like that.
She has been. I mean, the Doctor often gets accused of turning companions into warriors when they really aren't. And I mean, Yaz as a police officer is kind of almost there, but Ryan works in a warehouse.
Ryan knows some Call of Duty, so
yeah,
that's true. That's true. He did the Call of Duty thing last series.
Yeah, and Yaz is mostly desk work and traffic tickets. Let's face it.
Well, she's still probationary and all that. So.
Yeah,
Graham was a bus driver, so he's seen some stuff.
Oh yeah, he's been in the bleep.
That design, I love that design.
Isn't it superb? So we get. I'm trying to like you got the Mondasian arm, left arm. You've obviously got the broken Cybus-ish era Cybermen. I wonder about these two costumes, his lieutenants there, because those costumes, like the one of the main reasons why they redesigned them for Nightmare in Silver is because the costumes were showing their age, because they're like 7 years old at that point. And I'm wondering if those costumes, which are now 15 years old, I'll have you know.
Good gravy.
Yeah.
I love
Why
the
is a human head?
I love the human hand. Creeps me out
Yeah.
so much.
Why is a human head scarier than the desiccated skull heads that they had previously?
I think it's because it's the reminder that they are a human or were human. I think it's as a horror thing. We know that the Cybermen are converted machines in a way. I guess is how you describe it in like a layman's term. Mm-hmm. But to actually see part of us reflected in this horrible enemy is really quite disgusting, terrifying.
And he's bananas too. So yeah.
Oh yeah, the Doctor falls it was the just staggeringly effective origin of the Cyberman story, because it's just like it just became a body horror thing. Everybody remember this bit? I did, because I watched it a while ago. No.
I remember very little, to be honest with you.
That's good that we're watching this. That's Julie Graham right there.
I was just about to say Julie Graham was in Sarah Jane Adventures, and I love her.
Yes.
Where's Scrap Heap Gandalf? Has he shown up yet?
No.
And the remake of Survivors too.
That's right, Abby Grant in that, and she was in the Bletchley Circle, which Erica has watched recently, starring Rachel Sterling and others. And so her familiar Scottish accent. And I'm wondering, as we sort of dig in a little bit later, I mean, there's a mild flirtation going on between Graham and her, and I'm wondering if they're setting up something perhaps for Revolution of the Daleks.
Maybe.
Perhaps Graham stays behind with his new lady friend.
I feel like they haven't done enough, though, to show he's moved on yet from Grace, though. That would be quite a sudden change of... I mean, as someone who is currently dealing with a father who's widowed,
right.
It would be quite weird if suddenly my dad a year on just went, yeah, okay. Because for me, anyway, when we see how much he suffers without Grace. So I would hope that they would sell that in a really positive way, in the sense of we see her really support him in his grief, or him moving on, or him showing really that he's moved on from Grace effectively, without suddenly just going, I'm staying here, in a very like Leela Andred way, because that would be weird. I really don't want that.
This is better set up than Leela and Andred.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or Susan and David Cameron, for that matter.
True.
Saturday morning cartoons are set up better than that.
Yeah. So, like Steve Toussaint there, who admittedly I don't know anyone other than people who have been in Doctor Who, but he was like, given like a embargoed press release as being a guest actor in Doctor Who, and I thought, okay, he's been in stuff, I guess, and literally like 16 minutes into the episode, he's done. He's out. They kill him. It's like... just like Stephen Fry in episode 1.
Oh, don't. That makes me so sad.
Yeah.
Because I love Stephen Fry. He was wasted. He should have done more. He should have been the Lenny Henry character. Maybe.
Yeah.
Or are they working together or something like that? I don't know. I think that could have been much more fun.
Part of me wonders, some of these guest appearances are like they based on like maybe that's all the actor wanted to do. I'm only available for 2 days. Do they write around that? Or do they actually look at it? Let's do a cameo. Let's do a fun cameo of Stephen Fry and kill him off 10 minutes in. It's not like he can't come back, but Stephen Fry does seem to have that iconic persona.
It's true.
As iconic as Class? No.
It's tough to run heroically in grass there, as Jodie Whittaker is showing.
That's okay. 12th Doctor runs like a penguin, so it's fine.
That's true.
But I love how he runs, so it kind of works for me.
I know, and it's not limited to Doctor Who, because whenever he's had to run around in the thick of it, for instance, it's like, it's the penguin with his arse on fire.
It's amazing.
I do like that. I mean, I think maybe Jodie's coat is like billowing and stuff, but what I kind of like is there's a unisexual nature to it. Like, anyone can sort of wear that coat. It's not necessarily tailored to fit a specific body type.
Definitely. I actually really like that about all of Jodie's outfit, is that it is something that anyone can wear. I've got quite a few friends who've worn the Jodie costume to events that present as male, and it's kind of like they look good. They look just as good as any woman who's put that on, or any non-binary person, or anyone. Everyone looks great. We're back in Call the Midwife land.
We are. Here we go. You could just imagine Graham sitting up with his bucket of popcorn and get ready to watch the next episode.
Very exciting.
Of his favorite show.
I'm wondering where this is filmed. Obviously, it's filmed in Cardiff, I'd imagine, but whereabouts in Cardiff it's filmed? Because it's such a glorious location.
It is.
And the set's lovely. All of this sequence is really lovely.
I'm surprised they didn't use it before, or did they? And we just don't know because they shot it differently.
They probably have used it before. It's Doctor Who. Everything's been used before. But
somehow it's still the basement of the Millennium Center.
Yeah. I mean, it's all like happy, warm fall colors, and it just feels like it's a completely different show.
So, watching this, out of curiosity, this whole sequence obviously supposed to be our kind of suggestion that the Doctor joined the Vision to make a difference. Is that what we're getting from this scene?
I think so.
Because the Division then use the Doctor and make him do it all over again. Is that why I'm reading into this? Because obviously I've not seen this since seeing The Timeless Child and then watching it back. So these memories that are in the Matrix, because that's what they're supposed to be. I say memories, twisted, dream-like versions of what actually is going on. Mm-hmm. I wonder if these stories then will relate to the Christmas special and on, if we will maybe get more of those flashbacks. Because that could be really cool. Because we have this massive gap between young police officer Brendan and then suddenly old police officer Brendan.
Right.
So it'd be really, really interesting to see if we get any more of it. I would play it that way. I would purposely kind of put in the Doctor having the dream or something. So then now they've connected to the truth. We now have this kind of shared reality that we understand what's going on. As an audience, and also the Doctor understanding that that's what that is. I think that could be a really interesting way to play if you're going to keep exploring that plot from The Timeless Child, or if they just ignore it completely because they've solved the issue.
Well, what were your thoughts?
I say solved. I say solved. I had my fingers in quotation marks.
This feels like a script meeting for your next series of Doctor Who, Sophie. So just keep those ideas on the back burner there.
And make sure to credit us for listening, I guess. We didn't really actually contribute anything.
Yeah, executive producer credits, please.
Yeah, associate producer, actually, not executive.
Right.
Yeah. Associate producers.
Yeah, Chris, you're going to ask Sophie something.
We're getting a little ahead of things with Timeless Children talk, I know, but what were your thoughts on the rejiggering of the Doctor's history and canon?
I still don't know. I think at first I was vehemently against it but that's probably because I'm such a big Hartnell fan that I felt it quite hard because I know so much about that era and how they were setting it up. It felt really strange to me to suddenly just tack on a whole new life that we didn't know. But I do like the mystery. I just want to understand the mystery without knowing everything. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So, like, if they suddenly said it was set between Troughton and Pertwee, I go, okay, I kind of get where that fits. It would be a bit weird, however, X, Y, Z. But I could then kind of piece together how that works.
Right.
So I kind of need to know how Hartnell turned up. I think that's for me how suddenly Hartnell can suddenly claim to believe he's the first, if that makes sense. I kind of need to know that beginning for me to be able to accept it easier. But I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I'm going with it.
To quote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, what you demand are rigidly defined boundaries of doubt and uncertainty, basically. And so you like the doubt and uncertainty, but you want it to occur during this point and this point. And I am guilty as charged, because I, along with many other fans, were probably thinking, obviously this is season 6B. Season 6B is going to be canon. You're going to find out that Troughton went off and regenerated a bunch of times and then suddenly became John Pertwee. And I admit, I kind of like sort of cemented that in my head heading into the Timeless Children.
Well, it's such an easy thing to fit into your canon as well. Your head
two things here. The average person watching Doctor Who couldn't care less about season 6B.
No.
I do, but the average person couldn't, so they're not going to do that. Even though I totally get where you're coming from, because I did the exact same thing. Well, the Division is obviously the CIA, which was mentioned in passing once in Deadly Assassin, so of course it's got to be canon.
Yep.
So I'm no less guilty of this than you are.
Yeah, it's really hard because I am such a big Hartnell fan, and in turn I'm quite a big Troughton fan. It felt weird to know that there's a whole life beforehand where this character just continually regenerates and then doesn't move on. Where what we have with the Doctor is this developing character, because Hartnell develops into Troughton, and I say develops. His character does change. He has an arc. So suddenly, to know that, I mean, unless you're going to play it that the Division Doctor is basically Hartnell's character, I'd be for that. I want to see it. I don't just want to see Ruth suddenly go, I'm cool. That for me is meaningless. I want Ruth to prove that they are a Doctor that isn't influenced by companions, that is, a bit of an arse. To be completely frank with you, if we're going to play it like that, I want to see that Doctor, and I want our Doctor, Jodie's Doctor, or whoever they come across, because I don't know, obviously, if Jodie will run into Ruth again, we don't know. But let's say she does. I want Jodie to show her, look, you're going to become me, and I'm much better because of these people. That's how I would play it. Because the Division Doctor then is a different... The Division Doctors, because obviously there's more than one, as far as we know, are then a different type of Doctor, and that makes it more interesting than just, they're just a Doctor before, and they did all this already. It's like, why? What's the point? Where if they're Doctors who haven't got the humanity that we love about our Doctor, or the kindness, or the courage, and actually they're spiteful or horrid, and do things just for the Division to... be not very nice, then it makes it far more interesting for me anyway. So
in some ways that would almost kind of like cover ground that they kind of dealt with in Twice Upon a Time, where the Hartnell Doctor is regenerating and feeling like I'm all grumpy and stuff, and it's like Peter Capaldi's humanity in a way that sort of helps get them both ready for the next step in their lives. Essentially, they sort of humanizes each other.
Yeah, it could be a cycle. Pardon me, a cycle. In that, like the Doctor, these previous ones learn and then just get reset for whatever reason, and then Hartnell was the reset.
Hartnell was
that's kind of the implication.
It kind of like I kind of like that in a way, just because now it makes Hartnell's Doctor look like the true rebel. Like he's the one that perhaps like said no,
it's
enough.
Breaking off the cycle, no,
yeah.
I'm not. So that then explains why Hartnell left with Susan. Like you're building in a really interesting mythology there. But the moment, because we know so little, and we only really have the Masters say so on this. Like, no offense, The Master lies all the time.
Unreliable narrator, I think, is pretty
unreliable.
much.
He is so unreliable. We know he lies. At the moment, it's very easy to just gloss over it all and just say, "Oh no, he was fooling you, and it's all in the Matrix," and that would be wrong. You know, because if you're going to do something like this with Doctor Who, do it like seriously,
commit to the bit.
Yeah, definitely commit to it. Because if you just suddenly brush it under the rug and just say, well, Jodie already learned her lesson from it, that she's still herself, I'd be quite mad. Especially if you liked the concept originally and went into it going, yes, you know. I mean, I'm still trying to get used to it, and I'm still a bit annoyed that it might not work out that way. And I guess I'm just hoping that the payoff is worth all this time thinking about this thing that might not actually mean anything by the time a new Doctor or a new showrunner comes along. Like, it'd be great if they're gonna commit to it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
My only real problem with the whole thing is if Gallifrey got destroyed again. I'm like, I would have found a different way to do that, because it's already happened once and been the subject of countless seasons. Right. So why do it again? Figure out a different way.
I didn't like that. I was a bit kind of. I think I found it really great for the Master to return. Like, I loved that we were surprised by that, because obviously we just left with Missy and Missy dying and everything. So for Sasha just to turn up and kind of blow all of that out of the water and be like, nope, all that work you did, it's gone. I hate you. You hate me.
I'm even worse.
I'm worse than before. And oh, by the way, our planet's dead. Guess what? It was me. And you're just kind of like, what happened to you? Like, what? And I find that really interesting. Like, what caused this? So with that in mind, I loved the Master entering and doing that. But also, him destroying Gallifrey is a bit like, oh, come on, can you do something? Couldn't you destroy Earth instead? Like, genuinely, what would pee off the Doctor more?
Well, they did do that in Last of the Time Lords, but...
True. But you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing of, we know you like 20th century Earth, let's do something rotten to it without you knowing about it. Or, you know, really kind of screw with our expectations. We know the Master's kicking. The Gallifrey isn't as important to our audience either in the way it is to the Doctor. Mm-hmm. To get us both on the side of the Doctor being that angry would be even more interesting, I think. Well, that's what I would do. But that's the problem with being a writer, is you sit there most of the time going, well, I would do this. And that's not necessarily means that this is wrong, but that I would do it differently. And I think that's something great about Doctor Who too, is that there's so much potential in Doctor Who.
Yeah, and everything can be rewritten, and at the end of the day, what you're thinking about, like the whole, this is what I would do. I mean, that's Chibnall's prerogative. That's his job. Exactly.
This is his job, and these are his characters and his world at the moment, his universe to play with.
It's his sandbox.
Mm.
Yeah, he's not just a steward. Like, the showrunner is not just the steward to just sort of like keep things going at the same pace until the next showrunner comes along. You know, this
isn't Archie Bunker's place or something. Like, it's even sitcoms aren't even like that anymore. So never mind. But they weren't one time. So is Doctor Who, really.
Mm-hmm.
I do love the companions.
They are great.
I feel like they need more. I'm trying to think of what the word would be. It's not that they need more to do necessarily, because they do particularly in these ones, they are doing quite a bit. But I just find that I haven't connected with them as well as other companions. And I don't know, again, if it's that thing with Jodie where I just haven't, I don't feel the love between them as much as I have with previous companions and Doctors. And maybe that's why I don't feel so much.
Yeah. So you think you need to connect with the Doctor before you can connect with his or her companions?
Maybe. I mean, I really like Graham. I think Graham is really fun. He's kind of the Donna for me. Mm-hmm. He's a comic relief, but also I feel like he's the heart of the TARDIS, in the sense that we know exactly where he's come from, what he's doing, what he's grieving, what he wants, because he's running away. As far as I see it, he's doing this because if he goes home, he has to deal with the reality of the world. So if he does leave, I feel like that's him stepping up and saying, no, I have to actually face this now.
Yeah.
And it's going to be okay. And you've taught me it'll be okay.
Ryan has to be the same way from a different perspective as well, because he lost the same person, but she meant something different to him. And also as a person whose mother died when he was young and his father was gone, his, Grace was his world. Just like Grace was Graham's world for a different reason.
Yeah. So that's why, particularly Graham and Ryan, I feel like the connection really to them in series 11 was, we need to connect and bond over this horrible thing that happened to someone we both love. And that's happened now. We've kind of established that now. So what's left for them to do is actually face the real world that's left for them to face. So if they were to leave in resolution or whatever's going to happen next, they would have to leave together. And they'd have to leave with that. I think personally, again, I would probably set it that they would return to Earth, or they would, continue life somewhere else, supporting, good stuff in the universe. And because Ryan in this series seems particularly keen on protecting Earth. It seems to be the thing that he's really into.
Yeah.
Like his dreams and stuff are Earth being destroyed and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if they want to go back and support and protect Earth the way that most other companions have done in the past.
It would give them a good way to leave the series, as opposed to being torn apart from the Doctor's side, or split off into a separate universe. It would actually give them agency. You know what? We can do important work here on Earth. We're going to stay, Doctor.
Yeah, definitely.
And then it would give rise to just the Thasman theory. We could just have the Doctor and Yaz go off in space, having adventures. Yeah. And what else you might think of?
I like Yaz, but I feel like, again, I haven't seen much of an arc from her yet. And I think I'm hoping if it is just the two of them, they will give the space for her to really grow. Because a bit of it in series 12, you've seen her combat the Doctor more on fighting back and going off and doing her own thing. And I really love that. And I want to see more of that from Yaz. Because I wanted to see it from the beginning. I wanted her to be like, well, no, I'm a policewoman and that's wrong. But we haven't had that. So it'd be nice if that starts to happen a bit more as time goes on.
Yeah, you need something deeper. And it took a little more than a series and a half to get to Can You Hear Me with her, struggles with mental health and suicide.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. And
still a great episode, though.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. But there's more there, and there's more to mine. And thankfully, as we record this, the other day was the New York Comic Con panel where Mandip Gill said that those themes are still going to continue for her going forward, and that's good.
Cool, good, definitely. Also, we saw Kashamas just recently, and he is awesome. I like Kashamas as a character. He's really interesting. I got to meet him at a convention in January. I think it must have been early February, not long before I went to Galley, and he was lovely. And he was so excited that everyone was going to be watching his episodes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it must have been after Galley. No, it was after Galley. So yes, I saw him, I did see him the weekend of Timeless Child. So I saw him on the Sunday.
Right.
And he was like, I can't wait for you guys to see the end. But I also saw the guy who played a Shad as well. So it was a really cool day. But they had 2 Series 12 actors at the convention I was at in London, LFCC Spring. It was the last convention I did before everything locked down.
It's the last convention anyone did, probably.
Yeah, anyone. Yeah, probably. And they were both just so wonderful and so happy to be part of the series and to have some fun. And yeah. I like
Ian
but
McElhinney
Shamus is also in Game of Thrones, isn't he?
Yes, he is. Yeah, he played Sir somebody.
The stone arm guy, right? Or am I thinking of the wrong guy?
No, you're thinking of Ian, the other one. No, he was in that same realm. He was sort of Khaleesi's sergeant at arms for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was near the end, yeah.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, for such an influential big deal of a show, I've forgotten most of it.
I just know him from Dairy Girls.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he's in that too.
Also
Yeah.
Dairy Girls.
Well, Game of Thrones is the other show besides Doctor Who that just grabs every English actor they can find.
It's true.
And why not? I mean, because English actors are good. I like them.
Well, there's that, yes.
Yeah.
The ones that aren't there are in Hollywood already.
Yeah.
was like the charming thing about Tom Ellis, who's now Lucifer, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
Like it's mad because he was quite well known here for being a romantic lead for Miranda, which is a comedic show here. And he was nowhere near as buff and very sweet, and just played like the kind of lovable boyfriend, and then became the devil. I think a lot of people would just sit there going, "I'm sorry, wait."
And
he was also a love interest for Martha, wasn't he?
He's going to be Martha Jones.
He was, yeah.
And then he went off, and we never heard from him again. And she married Mickey instead.
Wound up with Mickey.
Yeah, he married
for
Mickey.
No particularly good reason. Not that Mickey isn't a fine, charming fellow.
We love Mickey in this household. So.
You also love Ian and Barbara, but
yeah, Ian and Barbara top.
We're not doing a commentary on the chase. I'm sure you'd want to. No offense to this episode.
Just call me back for that one, yeah.
If we get it, we haven't done one yet for the chase, so you're on the list, Sophie. You're on the list.
I was gonna say it's vaguely ridiculous that every spaceship looks like a warehouse, but then I remember the Revenge of the Cybermen spaceship. This looks a whole lot better.
Well, this is the trope. This is the trope. There always has to be sleeping Cybermen in tombs of some sort. Like,
look at these magnificent fellas.
They are pretty. I adore that redesign. Maybe not so. I don't know. The horns on the shoulder are a little bit weird, but just the earmuffs being back. That is just.
I mean, part of this is just me being nostalgic because they look like old 70s Cybermen. But
as much as I don't like Nightmare in Silver, I like that redesign because they just look so sleek.
They do.
So having
that corridor is nuts.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind the Art Deco-ish kind of style for the Cybermen, but as the years have gone on, I realized that their heads seem too slender for my liking, and so I'm a big fan.
How was it seeing this guy with the other side of his face? Like, where'd that come from?
Yeah, Patrick O'Kane. As Irish a name as you can get.
See, I had a theory before Timeless Child came out that Ashad was Brendan's dad in the Call the Midwife thing.
Okay.
You know, the flashback. It's because they looked really similar. They're played by different people, though, but they look so similar. And my brain just went, oh, it's him. It's definitely him. Look, they had the same jawbone. I was like, damn it. The same person, which would have been really interesting. Could you imagine how interesting that would have been if they were played by the same person for a reason and there was a whole thing about Ashad being more important than just being weird Cyberman who really wants to get everything.
When I'm a Rotary, I'm going to dress like this guy. I'm just going to get dressed up in my Obi-Wan Kenobi outfit, my stick, wander around and just say profound things.
I know. I think I need a big giant staff like that with some sort of, I don't know, ornament.
Baby doll head on it?
Yeah.
He just looks like a Richard Harris. And
yeah, he does.
Alec Guinness. He looks great.
I've not heard that name in a long, long time.
Long time. I'm very much looking forward to Ewan McGregor doing basically that age of Obi-Wan Kenobi in the series that Disney Plus is going to apparently do.
Is it actually a thing? Or
It's actually a thing, yeah.
It is.
75% a thing. Maybe they'll address how he went from handsome Ewan McGregor to handsome but very old Alec Guinness in about 20 years.
Now, well, as we talk over this, now I'm just intrigued by how old Alec Guinness must have been, in his 60s when...
he was in his 60s, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Yeah, early 60s.
I knew McGregor's probably 50.
He's
a little bit older than that?
Close to
49. He's 49.
Okay.
But everyone looked older in that time period. And that sounds like a really weird thing to say, but if you look at Hartnell is younger than both McGann and Capaldi when he started Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird.
He was the same age as Capaldi was when Capaldi started. And, Hartnell played old. He played old. That's one thing we forget, too. Though, he wore a wig. I mean, sure, he was 1963, 55 years old, which is a different thing than Capaldi. But
1960s, I don't think you could have had, grandfathers running around and being as active as like Capaldi was.
No.
Exactly, yeah.
It's weird. I don't know why we mentioned ages of doctors, but for some reason, in my head this week, I was like, let's calculate how old each of the doctors were when they started Doctor Who, and that ran through my head. So this is fun. I'm glad this has actually paid off into a to a topic of conversation. My past obsessive brain thanks you for your support.
So, question.
All right.
So I think I was talking to somebody, and the Cyberman like noise as they move was a new thing that entered the new series, if I remember right.
Yes.
So that never used to happen.
Correct.
And which I don't know what I prefer, because I kind of like it because it makes them seem menacing. However, I also like the fact that they don't sound like robots when you meet them in the classic series, because then they come across a different sort of terror. Because they are,
it gives things something else to have. So if they're marching down the street, then you have the clanking as a secondary thing to reinforce them. They're, I don't know.
Listen, the Cyber Controller Attack of the Cybermen is the artistic peak of Cybermen. I just want to say that right now.
But, they couldn't sneak. That's the thing. But maybe that's not the point. Daleks can sort of sneak, because Daleks can be silent apart from the fact that they shout all the time. But there's a certain thing about it, like hiding from something or not knowing they're coming behind you.
I suppose technically, though, because of the super speed introduced in Nightmare in Silver, they don't have to sneak, so they can just zoom.
And then ignored?
Introduced and then forgotten, yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about this scene, Yaz is basically become the Doctor in this scene.
Yeah,
that's very true.
That's the thing about splitting off the team like this is basically, it's kind of like, the Hartnell days, which is what I envisioned when they announced that, hey, there's going to be 3 companions. And I think, okay, they're going to split it off a little bit more to sort of like divide the division of labor. And you're right. Now we're getting Yaz as more of a doctorly, as opposed to like, I'm here for the ride. Tell me what to do. I'll hold this switch down. But now they're actually figuring stuff out.
Well, it's like in relation to this. So I don't know if you guys have read. I haven't finished reading it, but have you guys read any of the 13th Doctor books they released?
I have not. No,
not yet.
No. So one of them was written by Una McCormack, called Molten Heart.
Yeah.
And before they had to write the story before they had any information about the companions apart from what they were allowed to know. So when you read that book, it feels like it's the 8th Doctor, Ian, Barbara, and Susan. Because everyone has very specific roles. Ryan is the Susan, unfortunately, but Ian and Barbara are, Yaz and Graham. And then the Doctor, but the Doctor feels like the 8th Doctor, because at that point they had no idea who, Jodie's Doctor would be. And actually, obviously with the mannerisms and like telling them certain things like that hope is their thing and Yaz is a policewoman and Graham lost his wife, all this stuff. And it's really good. It's really great to see the characters written with kind of those roles in mind. Like Yaz is curious and strong-willed, where Graham is kind of sarcastic and brave, very brave, but also kind of like, I don't really know what's going on, but I'm just going to do my best to protect my friends and my family. So yeah, it works really well. And I think that's kind of how I would play this if I was writing it.
Mm-hmm. They had sort of the roles in place of what the characters might do, but not so much the characterizations.
Exactly, yeah. So I think it's really cool to see. And also this scene is the scene. This scene coming up is the scene I remember being a bit surprised who was about to come out of this portal, but we're going to see Call the Midwife first.
Yeah, more Call the Midwife with, I think, a different actor playing old Brendan now. I think he is, yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah. Well, it's been a while since I saw him, so I don't know. Maybe they just aged him up. I mean, they aged up the other 2 guys, which we'll see in a bit, but... Yeah, like I was like trying to like draw all the like, oh, what's the clock? That's got to be a thing, right? That's got to be a thing. And like Garda, like we didn't, we here in North America, I don't necessarily know what the Irish police service is called. So like, what does Garda mean? But it's blue. Is it a police box? It's got to be something to do with the TARDIS or something.
See, I read Granta and I was like, I just read as Granta. And I'm like, oh, it's those books, those travel guides.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I think this is the biggest WTF moment right here. Just seeing the, how old he is and seeing the people who presumably belongs instead.
Well, that's
also, did you notice that he looks a little bit like Hartnell?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, that's right.
I did kind of get Hartnell vibes from,
and a little like John Major.
Well, I find it fascinating that that Brendan's dad and the police officer here And believe me, I looked at that clock a lot too to see if what the time was. They age as normal up until Brendan becomes a police officer, and then they stop aging. They're the same age now as they are when Brendan first becomes a police officer, aka a member of the division. So I'm wondering if that plays into it too. Somehow.
Maybe he's in a confession dial. Maybe that's what it is.
Well, that's what I thought too. Is this like a confession, like that, the chameleon arch, or the? I mean, that's kind of what it is. It's the transformation arch, whatever it was. And
when I saw these, I thought, are they turning him into Cybermen? What's going on here?
Yeah, that's another thing that I was thinking.
Given it's a Cyberman episode, that's a logical.
And it just looks like he looks Cybermanish with that stuff in his head.
Yeah, or Cyril Shapsish. And
obviously, because
the Shaps agenda. Yeah.
Because that scene is supposed to be the Doctor having his memories wiped, it's so horrible.
Yeah.
To know that, so they just let the Doctor do all this stuff, whatever they were supposed to be doing as a policeman, and then they're like, right, we're just going to wipe your memory of it and we're going to just restart you and do it all again. Like, no wonder they rebelled and became the Doctor we know. So that's why it's such an interesting concept to go forward with. I just really hope they do something more with it than just show us this. Trust the Master's words.
Yeah.
And that she's okay with being herself now, because obviously that was the whole arc of Timeless Child, is her finding out from Ruth that it doesn't matter. Oh, I say Ruth. In her head, she saw Ruth. So it's not even really Ruth. It's a envisioned version of Ruth, surely, because otherwise that's still really weird, because we don't know Ruth at all, really. Yeah, so again, knowing what this Doctor's going to become and her accepting that was her past, this is her present, and who she is now, was the whole point of Timeless Child. So I'm hoping that if we're digging back, we are able to help those Doctors who are stuck or whatever, help them become the Doctor they're going to become. I really, really hope that's what they're going to do with it. Because if they just introduce it as this new mystery and then don't solve it, would kind of be a bit annoying.
It would be. And they're at the very end of Timeless Children, they're sort of like the Doctor is kind of interrupted by being zapped into the space prison at the very end. So it's like, she needs to go away and think or something. Like that's an episode I haven't watched since early March of 2020.
Yeah.
And so so it's not like they left it like, okay, we solved it at the end of the episode. It was interrupted already. So I don't know if that's going to play a part of the Christmas special or the holiday special, Revolution of the Daleks. But you're right. It's such a big thing that it would seem very silly to not dive back into that again for next series. Whenever that...
Yeah, when we get it, yeah.
Hopefully it's in production now. Hopefully Cardiff isn't necessarily in lockdown. Or perhaps they've flown everyone off to some remote island in the Hebrides to shoot Series 13 of Doctor Who.
Who knows?
Why not? Let's just do it. It's just everything takes place on this island and no one stands closer than 10 feet to each other. And that's just how Doctor Who is now. Wow, that's
or
an entrance.
Anything else.
That's,
or
there he is.
Cha-cha.
God, I love his master.
I love Sasha so much. It's so funny. You'll enjoy the story now, knowing that I wrote Master Thief. But when I first watched this, I was desperate to write O stories because I was adamant that O was a nice guy. When I was watching Spyfall, I was like, he's gonna be really cool. He could be a great companion for Big Finish to do a series on or whatever. And then we got to the end, and I was just like, nope, still want to write him. Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
So yeah, God. And then what a cliffhanger.
Right? Yeah. And that's where we end. Like, you haven't seen this episode in like 8 months, and now it's up to you if you want to watch the finale, because we'll be doing this one next week to close it out, this commentary series. I'm intrigued to watch this one again. I remember liking it at the time, and I think there are things that in retrospect, that I might have changed. And so we'll see what happens. But it's because of this extended trailer, which is why we got the middle 8 in the music. So
yes,
I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful for you, Sophie, dropping by to talk about this episode on the podcast today. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Where can people find all of your artwork, your writing, everything else that you do on the internet?
Best place to find me is probably on my Twitter, which is Sophie Miles Tweets. So that's SOPHILES Tweets. And I'm on there far too much, basically. I'm on there more than humanly possible, really, occasionally. But yeah, that's where you'll find me. I'll talk about anything that's coming out, whether that's book stuff, audio stuff, or art stuff, because I'm doing Doctober at the moment, or trying to. So there's lots of bits and pieces going on there, but that is the best place to find out anything going on. I also have a website, but to be honest, the best place is to go to the Twitter and click on the link tree that I have on my account, which links all to my social medias. I've done occasional TikToks. I'm on Patreon. I'm on Facebook. So whatever your preferred social media, I probably have one. But most likely, if you're on Twitter, I'm mostly on Twitter.
Well, superb. It was lovely meeting you at Gallifrey 1. I look forward to future Gallifrey 1s to meet you again. And indeed, if we ever get the chase on our commentary randomizer, Sophie.
Well, I have my ticket for 2022.
Oh.
So I should be coming to Galley 2022. And my husband's coming with me this time. So that'd be nice because he's not been to America yet. So fingers crossed, obviously, the world abiding rules and what have you, and things actually going okay. We should be coming 2022. And I think most of the same gang that I came with this year will be returning because we had such a lovely time. We always said we'd go back on 2022 anyway. So the gap between, ironically, we were like, well, if it's going to be back that year and we are planning to go that year, we should just get the tickets for that year now that it's moved to that year.
Right. So it's your fault. You're the one that canceled everything and got the pandemic going.
It's all my fault. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Well, offer rescinded.
Don't do that.
Okay, of course. You saw it there, The Timeless Children. We close out the commentary series next week, everyone. We do hope you will join us then. Until next time, though, I am Stephen in Edmonton.
More in Vancouver.
Chris in Edmonton.
And Sophie in Bristol.
So long for now.
You've been listening to Radio Free Skaro. Find us online at radiofreeskaro.com, follow us on Twitter and Tumblr at Radio Free Skaro, subscribe to us on iTunes, and donate to the show at patreon.com/Radio Free Skaro. Thank you.